A big shift in the polls a day before this year's third GOP presidential debate. For the first time, Ben Carson has taken the lead over Donald Trump. Michael Schur previews tomorrow's debate and looks at what those poll numbers will mean.
Since the Republicans last debated at the Reagan Library in California, their group has gotten a little smaller.
I will suspend my campaign immediately.
The rhetoric has remained the same.
Bush has no money. He's cutting. He's meeting today with mommy and daddy, and they're working on their campaign.
And they've even shown up on someone's enemies list.
Probably the Republicans.
This time, the Republican candidates are set to debate in Boulder, Colorado, hardly a hotbed of conservative politics, with Democrats out-registering Republicans by greater than 2-1. Recent polls in Iowa and now a national poll suggest physician Ben Carson passing Donald Trump. So Wednesday's debate, billed as Your Money, Your Vote by host CNBC, gives Trump another opportunity to hammer Carson on business issues.
I'm a deal maker. I'll make great deals for this country. Ben can't do that. Ben's a doctor, and he's not a deal maker.
Carson, for his part, will be debating on his evangelical message, which has been successful, but may find less resonance in a debate focused on finance and economic issues.
I don't change my message from one group to another group, and I think people observe that.
When it comes to finances, Jeb Bush had appeared very strong, but now hobbles into Boulder after a weekend Bush family strategy powwow with descending poll numbers and some public displays of frustration.
I got a lot of really cool things that I could do other than sit around being miserable, listening to people demonize me and me feeling compelled to demonize them. That is a joke. Elect Trump if you want that.
Marco Rubio hopes to seize on some of Bush's lost ground, despite his own lack of experience with business issues and having to defend recent allegations that he has a poor attendance record for votes in the Senate.
Being a senator is more than just casting a vote. That's probably the fastest part of the job.
The debate will also be an opportunity for Carly Fiorina. The former Hewlett-Packard CEO has seen only fleeting popularity bumps out of both debates, but this one is in her comfort zone, money and business. It will also be about taxes, and John Kasich may talk a lot about taxes.
I've got the most amount of tax cuts of any sitting governor today.
Making their points on budgets and taxes in the familiar territory of the earlier debate for those not polling as well will be Rick Santorum, Bobby Jindal, George Pataki, and a bewildered Lindsey Graham.
How am I losing to these people?
All have a big mountain to climb in the Colorado debate. Michael Schur, Al Jazeera, Boulder, Colorado.
The latest Monmouth University poll shows Democratic presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton leading Bernie Sanders in Iowa by 41 points. 65% said they'd support Clinton. 24% would support Sanders. 68% of Sanders supporters said Clinton would be their second choice. 59% of Clinton supporters said Sanders would be their second choice. 88% said they had a favorable impression of Clinton, while 77% had a favorable impression of Sanders. Joining us from Atlanta is Jason Johnson. He's a political science professor at Hiram College and an Al Jazeera political contributor. Hi, Jason. Do you think this is the beginning of what many have expected in the GOP race, that we'll see, as we did in 2012, various Republicans just rotating as frontrunner?
I think it's less that, Antonio, and more about the fact that we're seeing the restlessness before the holiday season. Iowa voters, caucus voters, tend to be very fickle. They flirt with one group of candidates over the summer. They go to another group of candidates in the fall. That's how you can see somebody like Ben Carson move to the head of the GOP field in Iowa, even though his campaign has been suspended for the last 2 weeks so he could sell books. So I think this is all just some volatility for now.
Some volatility. The question is, what does it mean for Trump? Because while Carson is ahead in Iowa, most recent state polls show that Trump is ahead in New Hampshire and other early primary states, so too early to write his political obituary.
Oh, no. Look, Donald Trump is going to be in this. And if you think about it, in 2012, you had 3 different candidates win the first 3 states. So it is perfectly possible that we could have a situation where maybe Donald Trump wins Iowa and then Jeb Bush ends up winning in New Hampshire and someone else wins in South Carolina. When you have a field of 17 people only half of whom may actually drop out of this race if they don't do well in Iowa, I don't think anybody can write off Donald Trump. And he has more money, more organization, and is a heck of a lot better on stage than anything Ben Carson's ever done.
Now, one difference with 2012 is that back then there was always establishment candidate Mitt Romney, who everyone predicted or expected would be the nominee, and he always seemed to be near the top of the polling. That's not happening this year because Jeb Bush, who was the presumptive nominee, appears to be mired in single digits and certainly seems to be flailing a bit.
Yeah, oh, yes. Look, Jeb Bush is in trouble. Anytime that you are slashing the salaries of everybody in your campaign, shutting down offices and having people work volunteer, it shows that your campaign is in trouble. But I don't think that Jeb Bush is out of the race yet. He's still got super PAC money. He still has an organization on the ground. And here's the thing that everybody has to remember about the Iowa caucuses. You have to look at who's in 4th through 6th place. Those are the candidates that tend to take a leap at the end. It's almost never the front runner who ends up winning the Iowa caucus. So I think Jeb still has a chance.
Now, I checked a handful of odds makers, and every single one had Marco Rubio as the favorite to get the nomination, except for one that had him tied with Trump and Bush. Is there a sense that he could emerge as the sort of non-outsider?
Yeah, I think, look, my first guess was Scott Walker. Scott Walker jumped out. My next guess is that it's going to end up being Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is the safe tabula rasa that all the Republicans can write their opinions and beliefs on. He's young. He is Latino. He's Cuban American. These are all things that the Republican Party thinks will allow them to beat the juggernaut that is Hillary Clinton. Now, whether or not Rubio ever gets better at being on stage, whether or not he can raise the money, we don't know. Right. But he looks like the least offensive.
Right, he's had trouble raising money, or at least he hasn't raised as much as some of the other guys have. On the Democratic side, quick final question. The last couple of times you and I talked, the focus was on Hillary Clinton's plummeting poll numbers. Certainly seems like she's turned that around pretty dramatically.
Yeah, look, Hillary was always in the lead, and now that Joe Biden is gone, Lincoln Chafee and Webb, pretty much all she has to do is march all the way through. Doing as well as she did with Benghazi last week has also really, really strengthened her position.
Jason Johnson, always good talking to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Antonio.